Can we get all board members back, please? Where's that gavel? Board members, please.
Board members, come on down. Let's see. Where's mine?
Well, it's probably a fusion of the two.
This is cool. Is this mine?
Oh, yeah, I want one of these.
Very
Can
cool.
I wear it right now? Yeah, it matches me. What do you think, Christina?
Got one.
I like hats. You like it? I feel kind of like Waldo.
Okay, we're ready to start.
Fun fact, I grew up on a.
All right. We are turning to the budget. Item number 5.
I. Well, that's a story. Isn't that just?
I gotta
feel
get
like
this,
I-
Molly. Here, let's see. Classic. Okay. Let's see. Board members, if we have folks in the hall, you do not want to miss the budget review, come on in. Join us. And we need to excuse Deputy Superintendent Scott Jones, but we've got, Deborah Jacobson, our Assistant Superintendent, is with us. I'm just waiting for, sure we're all, okay. I think we got everybody in the room, so
Chair, may I say
Thank you,
something?
Deborah.
Just very quickly.
if it's, yes?
It's Jermaine. I just wanted to compliment Superintendent Jacobson, right? Did I get that right? I really, I don't know if I want to say monopolized, because in comparison to my week, it was probably small to me, but it was probably big to them. And they answered so many questions, and I just wanted to publicly say thank you for your time and your energy in answering my questions about this beautiful and meticulous 127-page document that I had the privilege of going through. So I really did. I know that it takes time and that sometimes it might seem petty to you, but I appreciate your patience and your kindness. Thank you.
Thank you, Member Bogus, and thank you, Assistant Superintendent Jacobson, for being available. So the floor is yours.
Sure. Good morning. Assistant Superintendent Deborah Jacobson. I'm here to let you know that the board continues to be financially solvent and can fulfill all current and future obligations. I did want to bring to your attention one of the issues that we are having with the new, our accounting system with the state has been upgraded. And with that, always with software upgrades, comes our challenges. So you'll notice on the report, and part of this stems from Board Member Wood's question, I believe a couple of board meetings ago. Is it Kelsey? Are you driving? Can you go down to page 2 of the report? You'll notice that kind of throughout some of this report, we have some negative amounts of numbers. Our challenge right now is anything in the column, the encumbrance column that you see on there, anything that was encumbered before the upgrade is not clearing as expenditures are being paid. So we continue to work with state finance on this to get that corrected. It has been kind of a challenge. And it's also put quite a bit of work on our accounting staff to ensure that the finances are solid still. So they continue to, review these on a daily basis, especially when big dollars go through, to ensure we're still good, but just know that there's still some negatives on the report. And they should be clearing out as we work through that process. So with that, that is the end of the monthly budget report. Pending any questions, we can move on to the
Questions?
discretionary.
Questions, comments from board members? Seeing none, we can move on to discretionary funds.
Okay. So in your board backups, you'll notice that we include both. We've started including both last month's discretionary report as well as the current month. So you can see the differences, because sometimes it's hard to know what's changed. We also tried to highlight, if needed, if there's a change. But we've put that in there for for your review. Up in the upper right-hand corner, you'll notice that you still have some balances here. And I just wanted to remind everyone, especially our new board members, that these funds do not lapse. So if they're not spent at the end of the year, they will carry forward. And at the beginning of the year, after we've closed the books, we'll bring to you the new balances to include anything that was not completed, and go through the process again of identifying projects, dealing with any concerns within the agency, and reallocate those funds out. So,
Any questions or comments on discretionary funds? And appreciate the reminder for new board members, if you're, got something creative in mind or constituent input that something might be valuable, that's a process to bring it before the committee and then the board. And we do have some funds in there that one of them is limited in some ways to research and development, but development
correct.
can be a bit broader than research, and then others are unrestrained. So if you have something in mind, feel free to bring it forward. Okay, Assistant Superintendent, next is, I forgot the last item.
If we can recognize Sarah Kerr, this month we'll do the deep dive on the ESSER funding, on the CARES Act funding.
Thank you both, and board members. We do this for new board members. How often do we do the deep dive? Quarterly? Every quarter, we do a deep dive on the ESSER expenditure, and they'll go through it, but those of us that came on midstream, those of us that were around earlier, it's quite the process to get all this money to where it needed to be, compliance with rules, and also productive ways to use it. So greatly appreciate the deep dive every time it comes up. Floor is yours. If you could just give us your titles for the record and take it away.
Hi, I am Jessica Kerr. I am the CARES Education Specialist here at the agency. Yes, it does work, and I do think it was a little bit kind of fate. I will be doing your presentation today. Thank you for the opportunity to present. Next slide, please. As a friendly reminder, COVID relief funding in Utah refers to multiple awards that we have received from both federal and state legislature, which have been made available to our K-12 local education agencies through our office administration to address needs in response to COVID-19. As we present these updates to you each month, we address them in terms of oldest to most recent award. That way you have a sense of where we are as a state in terms of reimbursing these funds for our LEAs to support them in their projects and their needs. Next slide, please. This chart we share with you each month demonstrates the comprehensive nature of each of the awards and the specific purpose and guidelines around each award and how much has been distributed in this field. We call to your attention the $914 million at the bottom. Over 90% of COVID relief funds have been made available to our LEAs. We are currently managing over 1,100 grants through the Utah Grants Management System, and we remind our board that these are reimbursement grants. Next slide, please. As an overview, when we received these ESSER awards, it was guided that 90% of these awards should go directly to our LEAs. These were distributed with our Title I-A funding distribution formula. Then we have 10% of that award that went into the state reserve. Of that 10% in the state reserve, we can use half a percent of admin funds. And any LEA that wasn't able to receive funding through the Title I-A funding distribution formula, we gave them a base award to ensure that all LEAs had access to this funding. Next slide, please. I do want to highlight that 100% of Utah K-12 COVID relief funds are obligated. That means that every funding, we know where it's going, it has a project and a purpose and a response to a need. Next slide, please. So this is our CARES chart. This is our final one. These funds needed to be spent by September 30th of 2022. And so these are the final numbers. We just like to highlight those there for you so we can remind you of those numbers that we have. Next slide, please. So our next one is our CRRSA, which is Coronavirus Response and Relief Supplemental Appropriation Acts. This was awarded in April of 2021 and was with over 90% distributed to LEAs. Most LEAs chose to spend their funds on addressing accelerated learning loss, purchasing educational technology, or implementing summer learning and supplemental after-school activities. When we look at the next slide, this kind of walks you through our ESSER 2 and our Gear 2 dollars. As of March 27th, we had been awarded $246 million. And we have reimbursed $200 million of that, so an 81%. In our ESSER 10 base, we were awarded $2,942,744. We've reimbursed about 2.2 of that, so 77%. And in Gear 2, we're at about 61% of our 11% budget with $7 million. Next slide, please.
Oh, it's the old maps they used to send. There you go.
Yeah.
Do you remember those days?
I can keep going off of my notes if you guys don't want. It's up to you.
Go for it. Yeah, we've got the backup, so.
Okay, I'm like, I had a feeling this would
There you
happen
go.
to me, so I put pictures of my slides on here. So additional federal awards for the CRISA Act. We have Gear 2, and this was an application and award process. It is complete. It was 146 LEAs. $1.8 million was awarded to LEAs, and $1.3 million was awarded to the University of Utah Reading Clinic directed by the governor's office. Then we have our EANS 1, which USBE assumed responsibility of equitable services as opposed to going through the LEAs. And we are working with 22 schools that receive awards to support their reimbursement requests, as the state does provide them with professional services. Next slide. Okay, so next we have our ARP ESSER. In that, we were awarded $615 million to Utah K-12. 90% of that total award went directly to LEAs. For the State Reserve, we do have specific guidance in terms of how the reserve may be spent. 5% of the total award set aside for accelerated learning, 1% of evidence-based summer enrichment programs, and 1% for evidence-based comprehensive after-school programs. And just to highlight a few of, oh, there we go. And then the next slide, please. Perfect. So due to another federal requirement, LEAs must spend at least 20% of their total award on accelerated learning to mitigate learning loss. After analyzing our LEA plans, we see LEA spending an average of 36% on accelerated learning above the federal requirement. This speaks to one of the needs on the local levels where leaders have chosen to put resources to meet needs of students, teachers, and families. And then we've seen those in purchasing educational tech, capital improvements, including HVAC, mental health services for students and community. Our next slide is our overview of this, and it has it broken down. So our total award for ESSER, our ESSER 90, ARP ESSER 90% was $554 million. We've reimbursed a little over $207 million of that at 37%. And our ARP base, our award was $7 million, and we've reimbursed a little over $2.5 million of that. And then our summers and after schools, we're seeing that just a little bit smaller, both of them being about $6 million and only spending about $1.2 to $1.3 million on each of those categories. So then we have our additional award, which was EANS 2, Emergency Assistance for our non-public schools. USBE is serving as the fiscal agent for the award. The non-public school must meet or exceed 24% of the total students in the school for households with low socioeconomic statuses. USBE may not use ARP funds to reimburse, so this is a non-reimbursement one. And then our next one. And this is an analysis of kind of all three ESSER awards, the number of LEAs that are spending and kind of the top categories, and we have it broken down for you, showing that educational technology, addressing pandemic, and cleaning supplies kind of are our top three, but all of our needs are being kind of addressed across the board there. And then questions.
Okay, Vice Chair Hart has a question.
It's actually not a question. It's a comment. All across the nation, there's a lot of consternation about how ESSER funds are being spent or misspent, and I am just incredibly proud of our staff for how they've managed these funds and the transparency with these funds. So when I'm reading these articles about other states and how the money is just has disappeared, I'm very, very, very proud of what our staff has done. So thank you for keeping the process transparent, making sure there's plenty of opportunities for LEAs to innovate with these funds, but also keeping everyone in the right lane. So it's a lot harder than it looks. You make it look easy, but thank you very much.
Amen to that. Any other comments or questions? Okay.